anyone else would like to address the board?
Beaulieu, 6121 on Summit Circle. After I read my statement, I also had a question from the previous meeting. I'd asked a question regarding the town board usurping the powers that are granted to the ZBA, and I'm sure that someone's had time in the last 2 weeks to find an answer to that question. About a year ago, I did a letter to the newspaper, and I'm going to kind of brush it up a little bit. It was called The Power to Taxes, the Power to Destroy. And you know that adage is still alive and well in the town of Cicero, when the former town supervisor, Roy Mallette, who has been a frequent town critic, saw his assessment increase from $12,000 to $51,000, or 4.5 times its 2005 assessment. Roy's modest home and 2 small rental homes went from $230,000 to an astonishing $985,000 in full value without a single improvement in the year 2005. And we should ask ourselves, how does this happen in the town of Cicero? Just for a comparison, the ill-fated Cicero Commons had its full value reduced to $2.3 million a few years ago. I know it's been readjusted, but in that time it was $2.3 million. Our former assessor, Keith Pittman, said at the time that a $10 million reduction was justified. That showed up in the Post Standard 7706. That valuable property, which was 14 acres, has two skating rinks and a former YMCA recreation center as its centerpiece. If you took that $2.5 million value and divided it into 3, each of those structures would be worth approximately $833,000. Compare that to Mr. Mallette's property at $985,000. Would you rather have one of the skating rinks or his property in lieu of? Mr. Mallette is paying $29,939 in taxes this year. $29,000. How many of us, would we have to second mortgage our home? Would we have to sell our vehicles? What would we do to raise that kind of money? Just paid a $19,000 payment for his school taxes. You know, when we add up, and I got this off Mr. Mallette's website, when we add up the taxes that were paid by all of you elected officials and our highway, our tax receiver, and our town clerk, Mr. Mallette paid $3,696 more than all 8 of you combined. There's something wrong there. Now, I know you went into executive session tonight to discuss that. Mr. Mallette paid to have a full value assessment done on his property of $250,000. The town said that they were going to come back with an assessment at some point, and we haven't seen that yet. Mr. Mallette would like to get this thing through state Supreme Court so he can end up getting his money back justifiably from the town of Cicero for the injustice that's been created upon him. When is this town going to release that assessment and get this thing rolling so he can have his day in court? Can anybody answer that question? Heather?
It's in litigation, and I recommend that you do not discuss it for that reason.
Well, someday the state Supreme Court will probably have an opportunity to discuss it, and I hope he has his day in court. Unfortunately, we, the taxpayers, are going to end up paying back all that money, plus interest, for this injustice that was created upon this individual.